Coming up on this edition of Chapman News, a shocking story as actor Alec Baldwin accidentally shoots and kills his cinematographer on set. We'll have the very latest on this developing story.
Is the mystery solved? Brian Laundrie's body identified, how he was found, and what this means for the Gabby Petito murder case.
The House stands its ground, referring criminal charges against Steve Bannon to the Justice Department. What's next for one of Trump's closest allies?
And is Chapman haunted? Should you be scared of campus this Halloween season? All that and more coming up on Chapman News.
From Dodge College of Film and Media Arts, this is Chapman News.
Good afternoon and welcome to this week's episode of Chapman News. I'm Jack Hull.
And I'm Kinsley Rolfe. We begin today with tragic news out of Santa Fe. On the set of a movie called Rust, actor Alec Baldwin accidentally fired a prop gun, killing the cinematographer and injuring the director. 42-year-old cinematographer Helena Hutchins was shot in the stomach and rushed by helicopter to a local trauma center, where she died from her injuries. The film's director, 48-year-old Joel Souza, was also injured from the prop gun after being shot in the shoulder and was released from the hospital this morning. The production is being filmed at the Bonanza Creek Ranch, which has been used for a number of westerns in the past, including Cowboys and Aliens. Baldwin issued these statements on Twitter this morning. There are no words to convey my shock and sadness regarding the tragic accident that took the life of Helena Hutchins, a wife, mother, and deeply admired colleague of ours. I'm fully cooperating with the police investigation to address how this tragedy occurred. I'm in touch with her husband, offering my support to him and his family. My heart is broken for her husband, their son, and all who knew and loved Helena. The production company says the prop gun was loaded with only blank rounds. No charges or arrests have been made at this time, and the Sheriff's Department is continuing to investigate. How could an accident like this happen? Hollywood prop master Joseph Fisher talked about the shooting on CNN's morning show, New Day.
In the film business, we take extreme caution with any kind of weapons, whether they be rubber prop guns, blank guns, and anything in between. Typically, we will do a safety brief with the cast and crew. We'll introduce the weapon to the cast and crew. We'll let them examine it. We'll explain the safety precautions that go with each type of prop weapon. In this case, it was a blank firing weapon, and with that, there are inherent risks. With that in mind, there has to be safety precautions. There have to be safety distances, and at some point there was a mishap, and those were not followed.
The mystery of what happened to Brian Laundrie is solved. The FBI has confirmed that the remains found in the Florida Nature Preserve are those of Laundrie. We don't know how he died. The saga of Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie has captivated the nation for months. Rachel Kang looks back.
The story that has captured the nation began with a young couple on the road as they documented their cross-country van travels to social media.
So, we are right outside Capitol.
However, the social media posts suddenly stopped and Gabby Petito was reported missing on September 11th. Only a week later, on September 18th, a video accidentally capturing Petito's van was posted to YouTube by a travel vlogger. This video eventually led to the discovery of Petito's remains, and a coroner determined manual strangulation to be the cause of death. Social media detectives began piecing together a troubling story after body cam footage during the trip revealed a physical altercation occurred between Petito and her fiancé, Brian Laundrie.
Yeah, but I hit him first.
Where did he hit you?
The story took an even stranger turn when Laundrie returned to his home in Florida without Petito in the beginning of September. Laundrie and his family also refused to talk with authorities. Just a few days before the discovery of Petito's remains, Laundrie disappeared after going on a local hike. His family reported him missing on September 17th. On Wednesday morning, a search party in the Carlton Reserve was led by Laundrie's parents, where items belonging to Laundrie were found. His father, Chris Laundrie, discovered a backpack and notebook off of a trail. Human remains were also discovered, now identified as the body of Brian Laundrie. Reporting for Chapman News, I'm Rachel Kang.
Important happenings on Capitol Hill. with former Trump advisor Steve Bannon facing possible criminal prosecution. Peyton Bell has the story. Peyton?
Thanks. Steve Bannon is facing criminal charges for his refusal to testify before a House committee investigating the Capitol Hill riot. The House issued a subpoena to Bannon to get him to talk about the insurrection on January 6th. He seemed to refer to it on his own podcast the day before.
All hell is going to break loose tomorrow. It's not going to happen like you think it's going to happen.
But Bannon refused to testify. The full House voted Thursday to refer criminal charges against him to the Attorney General, but not before a heated fight on the House floor.
Why are we here on the floor of the House of Representatives listening to the Democrats and socialists and their Republican puppets reviewing Steve Bannon's podcast?
This is not some theoretical matter. We were here. We heard the doors breaking, the glass shattering, the cries from outside the chamber, and we saw the bloody results.
We believe Mr. Bannon has information valuable to our probe. He was deeply involved in the so-called Stop the Steal campaign. We need to make it clear that no person is above the law.
Now it's up to the Attorney General of the United States, Merrick Garland. His Justice Department will determine whether or not to bring criminal charges. Garland's decision is important because it could impact the power of congressional committees to hold investigations and get key witnesses to testify. I'm Peyton Bell. Back to you.
Today, the Supreme Court decided to keep the Texas abortion ban in place, but agrees to review it. The higher court will hear a challenge to the law later this term. Joining us now is Adria Mitchell, our COVID reporter, with some big news on the vaccine front.
That's right, guys. Last night, the CDC approved both the Moderna and Johnson & Johnson booster shots.
Well, that's absolutely fantastic. Can you tell us what these approvals mean?
Absolutely. The new approvals come about a month after approving the Pfizer booster. This means all 3 COVID vaccine boosters have been approved. People eligible for the Moderna booster echo that of people eligible for the Pfizer booster, those 65 years and older, and younger adults at high risk of severe COVID-19 or complications. Americans eligible for the Johnson & Johnson booster are those 18 years and older starting 2 months after their original J&J vaccine. The FDA also announced Americans can switch vaccines when choosing a booster shot. So if I was originally vaccinated with Pfizer, I could choose to get a Moderna booster. But regulators have not announced whether sticking to one vaccine or mix and matching is preferable. Despite all this talk of boosters, health experts continue to stress the most important thing is getting first doses to those unvaccinated.
First doses that matter most for community spread, for hospitalizations, and for death. It's not the boosters that are going to make the difference, it's those first doses of vaccine.
Here to answer some questions about boosters is infectious disease expert Jera Kalam. Thank you for joining us. The FDA is allowing mix and match boosters. Why does this work?
Mixing and matching actually can benefit for a couple reasons. Is that when we're looking at 2 different vaccines with 2 different pathways or mechanisms, we are actually attacking the same virus in 2 different, I would say 2 different, approaches or strategies. And so in a way, we are trying to be a little bit smarter than the virus right now. So that's one advantage of having mix and match vaccines. The second obvious reason is because what we notice globally is that there is a shortage of COVID-19 vaccines or a shortage of availability.
Thank you for clarifying that. The FDA and CDC approved the Moderna and Johnson & Johnson booster shots. Will we need a booster shot for the boosters? When does it end?
We hope that maybe by springtime that this whole pandemic simmers down and we can have better control and be ahead of this virus rather than always chasing it with boosters. So I think that's a strategy moving forward, is trying to get a lot of people vaccinated, fully vaccinated, and those who are immunocompromised or at highest risk for reinfection, than to get a booster so that they are not becoming reservoirs for the virus to replicate and become a newer variant or more infectious variant to just be in our communities. So our goal is to combat this virus and defeat it with the vaccination process.
Now, I'm sure you felt the colder weather, and there is concern that colder weather will keep people indoors and there could be a spike in COVID cases. How can we decrease the chance that there will be a spike?
Try to be around those who are fully vaccinated. So in a way, we are around people who are basically not carriers of the virus, first of all. And second is to take safety precautions, wearing masks around people we don't know if they're vaccinated or not, or if we're in crowds and indoors that basically don't have good ventilation. Maybe all the doors, windows are closed because it's so cold outside. I would encourage all of us to wear a mask unless we're eating or drinking. It's like being around people with a cold, right? If I know a stranger who has a cold and is sniffling and sneezing a lot, my intuition and my actions would be that I would stay away from that person and try not to get so close to them so that I would prevent myself from getting infected. So that is the same analogy that I would give to everyone.
Dr. Lamb, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
No problem. In other COVID-related news, police unions and officers in several cities are pushing back against vaccine mandates. Online site Officer Down Memorial page, 476 law enforcement officers have died from the coronavirus. That's 5 times more than have died from guns. Experts say that statistic should convince police to get the vaccine.
I'm not comfortable with telling people what they should do under normal circumstances, but we are not in normal circumstances right now. Take the police. We know now the statistics. More police officers die of COVID than they do in other causes of death. So it doesn't make any sense.
Former Miami Police Chief Art Acevedo, supporting vaccine mandates was one reason he lost his job. Acevedo continues to endorse getting vaccinated.
We need to take a time out, take a step back, put the emotion aside, and just start getting the information from public health authorities and understand that we have a responsibility not just to ourselves and our families, whether it's a gunshot or it's a virus, it is permanent and it's fatal.
Los Angeles County Sheriff Alex Villanueva says he won't force his employees to be vaccinated despite the county mandate. He says doing so would likely result in 5 to 10% of his workforce quitting. This has been your COVID segment. I'm Adrienne Mitchell. Back to you guys.
How does the shortage in microchips affect the car industry and its consumers? I'll have more information for you later here on Chapman News.
It looks like we finally have some rain on the way in California. I'll have the latest on this upcoming rain and your 7-day forecast after the break.
I'll be seeing you in all of our favorite places with laughter and warm embraces all day through.
Elmo loves you. I love you too.
With free COVID-19 vaccines, sunnier days are ahead. Visit getvaccineanswers.org.
I'll be seeing you.
Holiday shopping will soon be upon us, and this year, many people are questioning if they'll get their packages on time. Due to the global supply chain backup, the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach are now operating 24/7 around the clock. Taylor Sato has the story.
The global supply chain has been impacted since the start of the pandemic, when countries were forced to close their borders due to fears of the virus. Now there is record-breaking demand for products, labor worker shortages, and major traffic backups along ports. Port of LA Director Gene Soroka says President Biden's call to have operations around the clock is showing results.
Last week when I reported to the senior administration officials as well as the president, we had 25% of all cargo on our docks sitting here for 13 days or longer. That's been just about cut in half over the last week.
While cargo is spending less time sitting on the docks, the lack of labor workers and increased demand on products have experts saying delays will last through February of next year. Chris Spear, president and CEO of the American Trucking Association, tells CNN the trucking industry is short 80,000 drivers, a record high, he says. Quote, "The ports can't yet work round the clock because importers don't have enough drivers to move their cargo at all hours." Don McCarroll is the owner of Priority Metal Inc., and he is one of many business owners struggling to get goods off the ship and getting them to customers.
Right now, I have about 8 to 9 containers sitting off the coast that I can't get my hands on. I could sell them all right now if I could get my hands on them. That's a little over $500,000 tied up, just sitting out there.
The supply chain cannot keep up with the demand for product. The bottom line for holiday shoppers, be prepared to buy early this season and plan ahead for any delays. This is Taylor Sato reporting for Chapman News.
There's a global shortage of chips right now. No, not potato chips. We're talking about semiconductor microchips that are used in so many products, from electronics to cars. The shortage is impacting those in the market for a new or used car, including our own reporter, Tiffany Chen. Here's her story.
Microchips power the computers in our cars, and that includes the infotainment systems, special safety features, and more. Some car manufacturers had to shut down operations due to the microchip shortage, so there are fewer new cars available. Now, the cost of a new car is on average 42% higher than at the start of 2020. All of this means there is a big demand for used cars. I set out to buy a used 2015 Honda Civic in September this year and have only found my most affordable option here a few days ago at the Auto Alliance Group in Fullerton. My budget was under $15,000, but after visiting numerous car dealerships, I found that my goal was basically unattainable. Today, I'm picking up my 2014 Honda Civic for the price of $11,400, and that's after extreme bargaining. The out-of-door price for a used 2014 Toyota Corolla now costs around $15,000 total without taxes. Before the pandemic, this car would have cost around $10,000 to $11,000.
The COVID-19 was delayed a lot of manufacturers in production in general, and that's what ended up the shortage in the auto industry in general, and that's why we see inflation in prices. To my experience, the inflation prices was gone up about between 30 to 40%, somewhere around there. It depends on the model and the maker of the vehicles.
Frank Yao, the sales manager at Apollo Auto Inc., says that car franchises are marking up the prices of pre-owned cars when they sell to used car dealerships, which is why consumers are paying more.
The Honda Civic, the most popular, like the Honda sedan, they mark up at least $4,000. So that's a lot. So for used car, it came from the new car, which is mostly the leasing cars, leasing return, and the used vehicle that customer trade in, which means the car dealership need to put more money on the table to buy this car. On the other hand, the trading price looks so good that a lot of people want to sell their cars.
According to Consumer Reports, the semiconductor shortage could last until 2024. But there's good news. President Biden recently announced plans to keep the LA ports open 24/7, meaning that microchips may be imported into the U.S. at a faster rate.
For Chapman News, this is Tiffany Chen. Well, I don't have to worry about that car chip shortage because I have my trusty skateboard.
Not so fast, Kinsley. You might have to rethink your commute. Danielle Burke-North can tell us why. Danielle?
California is currently in the midst of its worst drought in 3 years. However, relief might be on the way. This weekend, a bomb cyclone is expected to form off the coast of northwest California and western Canada. The bomb cyclone is a powerful storm that will bring heavy rainfalls, thunderstorms, extreme winds, and hazardous surf to areas up and down the west coast. But that's not the only storm this season. La Nina, returning for the second winter in a row, is bringing some much-needed rain and snow after an exceptionally hot summer. This is great news for the drought and fire season, but it's not all good news. While Northern California will have wetter conditions, Southern California might be seeing dry winters and decreased rainfall. Now taking a look at Orange, California today. It is 73 degrees, it's nice and cloudy outside, and we're seeing some more of those cooler temperatures all throughout the nation. Sorry, you guys, we're having a few technical difficulties, but taking a look at our national forecast, 56 degrees in Seattle, Washington. We will be seeing some rain throughout the day, so make sure to have your umbrellas. 62 degrees in San Francisco and a little bit warmer in Las Vegas at 84 degrees. Denver, Colorado at 74 and still in the warmer temperatures. Austin, Texas at 86 degrees. But as we move along to the East Coast, we are seeing some cooler temperatures. 49 degrees in Minneapolis is the coolest on the map, and cooler in Chicago at 54 degrees. It's 69 degrees in both New York and Washington, 73 in Atlanta, and slightly warmer at 81 degrees in Miami, Florida. Now looking at your Orange County forecast, along the coast, it's nice and cool in the 60s, 67 degrees in Newport Beach, Laguna Beach, and San Clemente. But in the surrounding cities, we're seeing in the 70s, 71 degrees in Westminster and Mission Viejo, 70 degrees in Irvine, and 73 degrees right here in Orange, California. Now let's take a look at your 7-day forecast. Here, it is cloudy outside, 72 degrees, as well as tomorrow, and then slightly above at 73 degrees on Sunday. Monday, it's going to be rainy outside. Make sure to bring your umbrella, and it'll be 64 degrees, but warming up a little bit more in the 70s on Tuesday and Wednesday. 70 degrees on Tuesday, 79 on Wednesday, but bringing in those warmer temperatures on Thursday at 84 degrees. Nice and sunny outside. It'll be lows of 50s all throughout the week, but just today at 61 degrees. That's all for your weather forecast. I'm Danielle Verknorth. Back to you at the desk.
Representatives for Mary's Kitchen in the city of Orange continue their fight over the future of the company that has served the area's homeless community. Staff at Mary's Kitchen say they were shocked this past June when they were given 90 days to vacate the property. City officials say there are a number of safety concerns, which Mary's Kitchen staff say they have addressed. Last week, a group of supporters rallied at City Hall in support of Mary's Kitchen. The staff said it would take 18 months to relocate, but the city continues to insist it vacate within 90 days. A judge has ordered the two sides to be back in court later this month.
And if you thought we talked too much about coaches last week, too bad. I'll have more coaching updates coming up on the Best Campus Sports Show.
When you adopt a shelter pet, you discover their unique mix of all kinds of traits.
Where'd Wiley go? Where's Wiley? Ah, there she is. Paw?
Do you remember being an ancient wolf? Do you ever feel the call of the wild?
You're a renegade cop, and I'm a con woman with nothing to prove. But together, we could really solve this murder.
They're a little bit of a lot of things, but all of them are pure love.
With the holiday season just around the corner, retailers are opting for gender-neutral toy displays, specifically in California. Want to know why? Barbara Fox has the story. Take it away, Barbara.
Boo! Many popular toys are clearly marketed and sold with a child's gender in mind. It is the old cliche, girls play with dolls and boys play with toy trucks. Speaking from experience, at the age of 6, I was playing dress-up, experimenting with pink lipstick, and singing out of my Hello Kitty boombox. Now, California Governor Gavin Newsom has signed a new law that challenges gender bias in children's products. Under the new law, large retailers will be required to have a gender-neutral selection of toys. The stores can still have separate boys and girls sections, but they'll be fined $250 if they don't also have the gender-neutral section. Research conducted by Indiana University psychology professor Judith Blakemore found girl toys were associated with physical attractiveness, nurturing, and domestic skills. Meanwhile, boy toys were seen as violent, competitive, exciting, and somewhat dangerous. Blakemore says the most surprising things parents may find in her research is that moderately masculine toys encourage children's physical, cognitive, academic, musical, and artistic skills, more so than moderately feminine ones. However, many Republicans who oppose the law believe government should not tell parents how to shop for their child. Small businesses like the Enchanted Toy Store here in Placentia have less than 500 employees, meaning they don't have to abide by the new California gender-neutral display requirements. Let's walk inside the toy store, take a look around, and see the layout of the store. Over here, they have signs that say party bags, toys, and gifts, instead of boy gifts or girl gifts. Store owner Jeff Oslock says he agrees with the new law.
Our store has never really been categorized by boy-girl. There are brands, of course, that are branded in pinks and blues and things like that, but that's never really been our emphasis. It's kind of, we always just, we're asking usually what age the child is and what their interests are.
He says gender-inclusive toys is a trend that has been changing over time. A child I met in the store said she loves all kinds of toys.
I really like stuffed animals or like Barbies because I would always pretend they were in like tragic situations and then one of them would die and then they'd be really sad. But I also like stuffed animals because they're fun to cuddle with, and I would make like fake weddings with my little sister.
No matter if a child wants to play with dolls or a toy truck, a kid is a kid who just wants to have fun. For Chapman News, I'm Barbara Fox.
Jack, are you excited for hockey and basketball to be back?
I am. Actually, just the other day, I watched the season opener with the Nets and the Bucks, and let me tell you, Milwaukee should be happy Kyrie Irving wasn't playing.
I'm happy that he's not playing for my Boston Celtics anymore.
With more on this is Luca Evans with the best campus sports show.
Another week, another whirlwind of news for you on the sports front. I'm Luca Evans, and welcome back to the absolute best campus sports show. You thought we were done with the coaching news after last week? Ha! Hot topic in the sports world right now, it seems, and we'll cover some local updates today. But first, some controversy in the pros as both the NBA and NHL seasons have recently kicked off, with stars in both leagues facing severe consequences for their refusal to get the COVID vaccine. After an investigation into allegations that he submitted a fake vaccine card, Evander Kane of the NHL's San Jose Sharks has been suspended without pay for 21 games. Kane is known for being a sniper on the ice. This may be one of the few times in his career he's refused a shot. And speaking of refusing shots, Brooklyn Nets guard Kyrie Irving has continued to stay in the news for his stance on not getting the vaccine. New York is one of 3 cities that require players to be vaccinated to enter indoor facilities, and that includes the Nets Barclays Center. Irving can't play then as long as he remains unvaccinated, and the Nets have responded by not allowing him to join the team unless he receives at least 1 dose. Irving went on Instagram Live last week and said, "This is not a political thing. This is not about the NBA, not about any organization. This is about my life and what I am choosing to do." It remains to be seen if Irving will fold or if the Nets will simply trade him. On the more local front, a new sheriff is in cross-country town at Chapman, but it hasn't been easy for runners to adjust to his lay of the land. In January, former cross-country coach DeAndre Woods left for Concordia University Irvine after 3 years at Chapman. Neil Houlihan, an assistant of 4 years with the University of Illinois Chicago, was hired to fill the position. It was quite the adjustment for runners like Dos Carmichael, who'd ran for 3 years under Woods.
That change was pretty abrupt for me, so I was a little shaken, and I kind of wanted to keep the old ways.
If you were late to practice under Woods, he'd make you do 5 burpees per minute time. If you were late under Houlihan, though, you're barred from practice entirely. Carmichael remembers one runner suffering that fate.
We felt like they wanted to be there, and maybe they just had a mistake that day. Maybe they took a wrong turn, but so we were kind of like, that's a little weird, that's kind of taking away, but...
Houlihan said a coaching change would always add stress to a program, but some discomfort can be good. Junior Aiden White, who set a personal best in the 8K at the UC Riverside Invitational last month, agreed.
Sometimes we get stuck in our ways a little bit, and we need a fresh perspective on things, and we have old habits and routines that we're used to, but I think it's always good to kind of get a new take.
Carmichael said he was feeling much better about the team after a strong workout a couple Fridays ago, and that they're in a good place. Houlihan, for one, is simply proud of his runners.
As a coach, you're kind of in awe.
The team still has work to do, as most recently at the Pomona Pizer Invitational October 9, the men's team finished 8th out of 11 in the field, and the women's team also 8th out of 10. They'll look to improve later today at the Titan Invitational at Cal State Fullerton. And finally, just call him Mr. October already, as Chris Taylor of the Dodgers hit not 1, not 2, but 3 home runs last night to have Los Angeles making like the Bee Gees and staying alive against the Atlanta Braves. They won the 5th game of the National League semifinals 11-2. And if that name sounds familiar, it's because Taylor is the same guy who hit a walk-off homer to beat the Cardinals in the wild card game. He's a free agent come this winter, and boy, he's about to get PAIDT. Throw some of that money over here a broke college kid's way, Chris. The Dodgers will head to Atlanta tomorrow, still down 3-2 in the series, but now with some hope. That's it for this afternoon. Come back next week for more drama in the sports world. Back to you over there, Promise.
Thanks, Luca. We have more developments on the film set at Tragedy after the break.
They call me Maxie, but I prefer tripod. I was your above-average four-legged homie, and then wham, bam, minivan. Some people pity me. Now that's lame. I still run, fetch, and swim. And the ladies love me. I'm the ultimate wingman. Just don't ask me to high five.
Hey guys, I'm Promise Johnson with your entertainment news. Hollywood has been especially abuzz today after the unfortunate death of a filmmaker on set of the upcoming movie Rust. Celebrities are coming to the defense of Alec Baldwin after the tragic accidental shooting yesterday on the New Mexico set of his latest movie. The film's cinematographer died and the director was injured when Baldwin discharged a prop gun. Actress Deborah Messing says, quote, "A prop gun was handed to him. He used it in a scene that a catastrophic event happened." Katie Delaney, a Hollywood writer, says, quote, "It's really not fair to have Alec Baldwin be the face of this story. Law enforcement is investigating how the accident happened." In other news, Dave Chappelle is, once again, facing controversy, this time over his latest Netflix special, The Closer. It premiered on Netflix just over 2 weeks ago and since then has been facing some pretty severe backlash. On Wednesday, over 1,000 trans and LGBTQ+ allies that worked at Netflix staged a walkout to protest some of the anti-trans jokes Chappelle made during the special.
It's really harmful when someone spreads misinformation about our kids, when someone's out there saying something like gender is real in a simplistic statement and the audience is hooting and hollering and millions of people are watching it. It negates all the educational work we're trying to do.
Not too long after the announcement of the walkout, one of the employees who organized this event was fired because they reportedly leaked confidential information about the stand-up. To clarify, many have stated that the walkout is not against Chappelle directly, but more against Netflix for advocating hate speech against trans people. A Netflix executive released a statement about the situation, saying he screwed up, but still does not consider Chappelle's words hate speech. Despite the controversy, the special is still available on Netflix. And for our last story, we are proud to announce that one of our recent Dodge College alumna has won a top award for her short film. Congratulations to Fumi Morare for winning a gold medal for her narrative short film, When the Sun Sets, at the Student Academy Awards. Well, that's all we have for today. I'm Promise Johnson. Back to you at the desk.
I am so happy Dodge finally won an Academy Award.
Now, all that's left is for Chapman News to get an Emmy.
That would be awesome. Well, that's it for us this week. Don't miss an episode of Chapman News at www.chapmannews.tv and follow us on social media at Chapman News. I'm Jack Cole.
And I'm Kinsley Rolfe. And we'll see you next week. Same time, same place.